The Committee on Instruction heard several items yesterday in committee, and we have some items that we need to consider at this time.
Okay, next item that we'll consider then is the renewal of currently approved innovative courses. First reading and filing authorization.
Yes, sir.
Agenda Exhibit 2-25.
Mr. Chair, when the TEA staff presented this item, they requested that the committee take no action on this item to grant time for TEA staff to conduct further research to ensure courses and related materials meet the Committee on Instruction's curriculum requirements and comply with broader statutory mandates. The Committee on Instruction will take this up at a future meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair. Could I ask a question about this item?
Sure, you're recognized to ask a question.
Yes, to staff, could you outline the timelines to provide the review of requirements and suitability on an item that's been before the board? My concern is that, in particular, the American Indian Native Studies program has been, present and has been discussed at length for more than half a year. And when it was brought up for discussion yesterday, we were told that the statutory requirements and suitability rubric studies haven't been done. As school districts are trying to implement these programs, and we were told during the committee that if we discuss this in June, school districts would still have the opportunity to implement these courses for the upcoming school year. But in practice, working at a school district myself, knowing that, it takes time to do these things. So could you outline the timelines and when, how we can make sure and reassure the public that is interested in things like these, that we will discuss these things in a timely manner?
Chair, can I help just touch on that for just a second?
Please, Dr. Young.
I do want to say, as you and I both work in school districts, I retired last year, but I contracted in 2 different school districts. And I would have to say, I know for a fact that master schedules are due this month to school board meetings. In that, any administrator worth their weight has completed their master schedule and they have plugged holes in it, right? Because they're going to be looking for teachers who can teach those particular courses, whether it's an AP course or something like that. We know that finding teachers that are certified to teach particular courses is difficult. However, that being said, any school district that's interested in teaching any one of these innovative courses will have that already mapped out in their master schedule, so that they can move forward with it come August. So I just wanted to touch on that, because regardless of anything, it should be already allotted within that master schedule.
Yes, Dr. Young, I appreciate your expertise in this, but I also am cognizant that school districts are dealing with budget deficits throughout the state, which means that their master scheduling and planning might be impacted by decisions like these, right? And in districts like mine, where school districts are really trying to plan effectively and in a manner that suits their budgets more efficiently, a decision like this one being postponed to June, which is weeks before the start of the school year, might prevent them from moving forward with plans to adopt a course like this one.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Vice Chair Little.
Monica, would it be possible for you to give progress reports to the Committee on Instruction of where you're working through these suitability issues or whatever it is that we need to address? And I would also like to know if you find a problem, what we might can do to get that problem resolved. And I would be happy to offer my help in any way possible to make that happen.
Yes, ma'am, we can most certainly do that, by way of initial progress. We have a meeting scheduled, for Monday so that we can, specifically outline every single step that we need to take to ensure that you have the information that you need. And we're happy to provide updates, to the committee, through the chair, if that is, acceptable, and would welcome, collaboration with any member of the committee to get this done.
Thank you.
Member Hickman,
Can I ask the committee chair a question?
please.
Dr. Young, do I understand correctly, I wasn't in your committee, that you need certain information to renew innovative courses that you did not have yesterday? Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir, that's a fair statement.
Okay. And then staff is able to sometime in the future bring that back, and then you can consider these courses and decide yay or nay on each of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, just my 2 cents from the cheap seats. I understand the concern of trying to get this done as quickly as possible. So I don't know if it's possible to have a May meeting of the committee and of this body so that school districts have as long as possible, since it doesn't sound like we can approve it today, that the committee was missing information. So I don't know, I completely defer to the committee and staff on how long that would take, but I'll just throw it out there, maybe instead of waiting till June, if we could do that earlier. I don't know, Ms. Kay, if we would refer to a committee or if the chair would just call, or completely out of my league, but just floating an idea, Mr. Chairman.
I will work with Dr. Young and the agency to determine a timeline for which we can come back. There's a lot of implications internal, so I don't want to commit to anything right now. I need to discuss with the agency further and all the departments affected. So I will put it on my list of things to do following up on the meeting, but your point is duly noted. Member Perez Diaz.
Thank you, Chairman. This question is a preliminary inquiry. So, Ms. Kay, if there's an item listed on a committee agenda and it isn't discussed in the meeting amongst the committee members, I want to understand how that happens. And then as a follow-up, if there is a committee member that objects to the decision that was made by the chair, is that decision appealable by the members of the committee?
So the answer is it so frequently is it depends. I have been asked several questions about what happened. And I happened to be in that meeting yesterday. Once TEA staff recommended that the item not be considered further and be placed on a future agenda, whether that's a special meeting or a specific one, then the chair withdrew the item from further consideration. In my opinion, that is the chair's right, because the chair, according to state board operating rules, owns the content of that agenda in consultation with the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board was not there, but the chair of the committee was there. She owned that agenda item, and the right to put something on the agenda would carry with it the right to remove something. So I believe that the chair was within her rights to remove that item from the agenda. Furthermore, I believe that that item, I would have advised the chair, had I been asked at the time, that there was not a legitimate appeal to that. One of the rules of appeal is that there must be two viable positions that differ, two differing interpretations in order for there to be an appeal. I don't believe that there is another interpretation. I believe that the chair owns the agenda in the committee meeting. And therefore, I would have advised that because there are not two reasonable opinions on this, given your rules, that an appeal would not have been in order yesterday.
And as part of that process, who provides those appeals?
Any member of the committee would have been able to make that appeal.
Now, I was in the room as that conversation occurred, and it didn't seem like there was appropriate time given. It didn't seem like there was any time given to allow for presentation of appeal. The conversation was shut off immediately, and at that point, Ms. Kay, I know you were no longer in the room. So I have major concerns with how this occurred. And if appeal is appropriate in those moments, the time due was necessary, and it wasn't given.
I will spank somebody because that's all I can do about it at this point. And I don't mean to be flip, but timeliness is an issue in this. And certainly, as you know, you've been here even longer than I have. This was not the normal way that things have been done here.
That is correct.
I don't believe that there was an opportunity for that appeal to be made. However, and I apologize, I did have another client commitment that was of long standing before this one. However, had I been in the room, I would have advised that even had a member offered an appeal, that the appeal was not in order, because the chair had the right to do what the chair did.
I guess where I'm trying to understand, though, is the item, as far as I knew it, walking in, had not been removed prior to this meeting beginning. I don't know if that was done. That certainly hadn't been communicated to the board.
It had not.
So then I'm still trying to understand, there's a particular professional courtesy that's expected of this board. And if that had been done, prior, I understand where you're communicating an appeal probably wouldn't have been in order and those sorts of things. But this was done, it was basically dropped on everybody in the room. That professional courtesy, at the very least, was not given to the other members of the committee. And for that, we need to seriously have a conversation, perhaps as a board, about how we operate in committee. And perhaps that involves a review of our operating procedures. But I will say it was a lack of acknowledgement of the other committee members on that board.
To the chair.
I would note we just updated our operating procedures at the last board meeting. Member Revelis, for what purpose do you wish to be recognized?
I wanted to make a point of clarification to Member Diaz's comments.
Well, state your point.
Yeah, I wanted to just put it on the record that I did have time to make an appeal. I did seek an appeal. It was not considered. I just wanted to make that clear.
And understood, but the point of the parliamentarian was that the chair has a right that has been delegated to her by this board in the operating procedures.
Understood.
And she was exercising her right. Okay. Anything else? Member Pickering, for what purpose do you wish to be recognized?
I would like to talk with staff concerning what Vice Chair Little was asking about, information she was asking about.
You're recognized to hopefully concisely make your point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So piggybacking off of what Vice Chair Little was saying about information updates, timelines, I received, I can't speak with other board members, I received an email from maybe potentially an expert in this place saying that he has already been working with you and with your department on this as an advisor. And so can you also, whenever you give us board updates, please give us backward updates, and if y'all have convened expert and if you have had meetings in the past about this course?
Happy to. I would appreciate knowing who that is. We have not worked with any experts. I had a conversation with the representative of the school district that submitted an application where we provided feedback. That is the only individual who I have had any interactions with. So I have not, and I'm not aware that we engaged with any experts. So I would appreciate knowing who that is so we could try to get some clarification there, and happy to provide any information that members of the board need.
Okay, I'll
backwards and
forward
forwards.
it to you because he was pretty specific. Maybe it was someone in your department.
We'll figure it out. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Dr. Belmetero, for what purpose do you wish to be recognized?
I wish to be recognized to ask a question about advice from.
What type of
Chair.
advice? Financial advice?
No, I got
Directions
that.
home? Where are we going with this?
Advice on how to proceed to get the Native American Indian Studies on the agenda at some point in the future.
So I believe that's what Member Hickman was making the point of, is that he wanted to take this up at a future meeting, which is what Dr. Young said in her statement at the beginning. So Member Hickman asked for us to work with staff, and I committed to him to work with staff to figure out a path forward on this issue.
I understand that, but I want to know what I personally can do or contribute to this effort, and in what ways. I want to join in with this effort, but I don't know what I can do that won't be some kind of a violation or an impingement that I'm not welcome to participate in.
Chairman? May I?
I'm not sure how to answer that question because I don't know. Monica?
Well, I was just gonna say, Dr. Belmetero, the request from Mrs. Little was for us to provide updates to the committee. You're a member of that committee. So we would provide those updates to you and you would be involved in that way. So I don't know if that helps, but that is a way that you would be able to contribute, is by receiving those updates. And then the second thing that Mrs. Little asked for was if we identified a problem, to make sure that you all were aware so that members of the committee could help solve that problem. So as a member of the committee, you would be part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Clark, for what purpose do you wish to be recognized?
Point of clarification about,
Is that a point of information?
sure.
What's your point of
So my
information?
question is to, I guess, Dr. Young, you said that it was information missing. Were the districts provided with what information was missing so that they could collect it and submit it? Or is that a staff question?
I think that's a staff question. Dr. Clark, as some of, as this process has evolved over time, one of the things that has come up recently is there are materials that are submitted or that are noted as part of an application for an innovative course. In the past, we received, and the committee and the board received a list, but not the materials themselves. What we need to be mindful of is that there are changes in laws and rules that we need to comply with, that we need to support you to comply with. And so that is a change in the process that we are implementing moving forward, is to make sure that we have looked at everything related to that course so that we can provide you with full and complete information.
Correct. So let me be specific. So like Grand Prairie ISD is utilizing this innovative course, which is within my district. Were they contacted and asked to submit information about the renewal of this process?
They submitted, Grand Prairie submitted the renewal application. As part of that, Grand Prairie indicated the materials that were recommended for any district that implements this course. So a recent amendment that was made to the innovative course rules was to require any applicant to provide at least one copy of all materials. so that you, as members of the board, the members of the committee, had an opportunity to review those materials. So that was a step that we implemented. Grand Prairie was aware of that. They submitted those materials to us. The step that we skipped, that we need to go back and rectify, is that we did not do a careful review of those materials to be able to advise you of whether there are any challenges or problems with those materials.
So just to recap, so staff didn't do the due diligence in reading through the materials to get
correct.
this approved?
That is
Thank
correct.
you.
For what purpose do you wish to be recognized, Member Hickman?
Move that we move on to the next item.
Point of
you-
order.
Point of order. Well,
What's your point of order?
I don't believe staff has had a chance to answer my original question on timelines.
What was your point of order, Dr. Clark? Was that from you I also heard?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you call a point of order? Oh,
I don't say it wasn't me.
it was who?
Me,
Oh, what was your point of order?
Member Hickman was going straight into a motion with, he didn't answer Chair's question.
That's correct. I'm gonna deal with the point of order first, and then I will come back and recognize Member Hickman for that purpose. What was your question that didn't get answered?
As when an application for an innovative course is submitted, what are the timelines for review for both statutory requirements and sustainability rubrics?
What will the timeline be moving forward? Is that your question?
Well, what are the timelines now, since we're dealing with this now?
That had not previously been a specific part of our process that we recognize at this time that should have. So on Monday, I'm going to sit down with staff to delineate a specific process that we will use moving forward. That was not something that was an oversight on our part that we are trying to rectify now. The timelines will need to be the same. We recognize that applicants and school districts need to have this information, and we will do our due diligence moving forward to ensure that we update application instructions, that we build in the time and we identify the staff capacity to be able to do the careful reviews, so that when we bring items to the committee in the future, all of that information will be included.
Thank you, Ms. Muffins.
Yeah, just to recap from when this topic came up last board meeting, I was expecting it was gonna be on the agenda. It was pulled by staff a week before the board meeting. So I think one thing that I'm learning in this is we need a lot of clarification around innovative courses, generally. So there's a lot of process frustration here. So Dr. Young, I look forward to working with you on innovative courses more broadly to figure out a path forward that makes sense for everybody. Member Hickman, would you like to be recognized for your motion?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, if I can be.
You're recognized.
Move on to the next item.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of moving on to the next agenda item, please show by raising your hand. Eight. Thank you. All those opposed, please show by raising your hand. 4, 8, 4. Motion carries. We will move on to the next meeting, or the next, excuse me, next item.